description of Savitri as she is growing, aware of forms to which our eyes are closed, conscious of nearnesses we cannot feel. That is to say, there are forms which are not the physical forms we are accustomed to see, but subtler forms we cannot, to which our eyes are closed. I remember on one occasion when there was a question of a child, maybe of 2, crying all of a sudden. Mother said at that time, we never know what the children are seeing. We know only what we see with our physical eyes. But young children, their subtle sight is still not covered by the gross physical sight, and they see things and they don't know how to express themselves, and crying is the only way they can draw our attention, they can articulate. So she said, don't look for physical reasons. Don't imagine the child is ill or something is wrong in the stomach and that kind of thing. It is a great good luck of ours that we don't see everything that is going on around us. She also remarked once that if we were to see all the forms around, we will be able to function. It requires a great occult capacity to see things on different planes and at the same time function on the level on which you are. There is things run into each other. Only a person with the occult capacities of mother's kind can prevent these things from misguiding. So there are forms to which our eyes are closed, conscious of nearnesses we cannot feel. There are many nearnesses, closenesses, not necessarily beings, not necessarily forms. There can be concrete feelings, concrete movements which don't have a form, but you can feel them near you. That is what he means. First he says of forms, then he says of nearness. The power within her shaped her moulding sense. Our physical sense is set in a particular manner, but with her, her sense, the molds of sense, the mold of sense is in which the experiences flow. If you have a limited mold, you can have only a fragmented experience. The larger the capacity of the senses, the sense of sight, the sense of hearing, the sense of smell, the larger is the range of possible experience. The power within her shaped her molding sense in deeper figures than our surface types. That is, on all fronts, on all levels, the divine power that was building her shaped her sense and her sensitivity so as to cover many planes of existence at the same time. An invisible sunlight ran within her veins, not the external sunlight, but an invisible sunlight. That is the light of the spirit, the light of the soul, the light of truth, ran within her veins, and flooded her brain with heavenly brilliancies. Her brain was not the dwelling place of small earthly concepts and notions, but heavenly brilliancies that woke a wider sight than earth could know. This inner sunlight, the heavenly brilliance, enlarged, awakened a look, a capacity of sight which does not belong to the earth. Outlined in the sincerity of that ray of light, that ray of sight. Sincerity, seeing exactly what is there without allowing any deformation. Her springing childlike thoughts were richly turned into luminous patterns of her soul's deep truths. Her thoughts, which were childlike, they were not complicated, they were not profound, they were springing, vibrant. They were richly turned into luminous patterns, that is, they were luminous reflections of the deep soul, deep truth that was growing in her soul. And from her eyes she cast another look on all around her than man's ignorant view. Her look on all around was different from the ignorant view of the average man. And he explains, the poet explains, all objects were to her shapes of living selves. Each object was not just a physical form, but it was only an outline, it was only a shape of a living self, a spark of God. That is what the Upanishad means. He who sees the self in all. And Sri Aurobindo says, seeing the Brahman around. Each object is not just a tumbler, a calendar, a pen holder, but it is the pen holder shape of the divine consciousness, a tumbler shape of a divine vibration, of a divine element. Thus, everything is to her a shape of living self. It is not a theory, but living. Living means contactable. It is not something that is lying in swoon, but something that can be related to. And she perceived a message from her kin in each awakening touch of outward things. As a result of being alive to the presence of to the presence of the divinity in each object, every touch of outward things awakes in her a message from her kin. Her kin means her relations. She is more akin to heaven from where she has come. Her kin does not mean her father Ashwapati or her mother, that queen. From there, each impact, each contact awakens some intimation, some message from there. And she perceived a message from her kin in each awakening touch of outward things. Each was a symbol power. Each object, each experience, each movement was a symbol power. A vivid vivid flash in the circuit of infinities half known. Everything represented something in the infinite, not yet known by her, because she is still growing. Hers is a childlike mind. So, it is a half-known circuit of infinities, and every object, every movement is a symbol power, an unmistakable flash. Nothing was alien or inanimate. She did not feel any foreignness or anything as bereft of life, inanimate, lifeless. Nothing without its meaning or its cause. Everything had a meaning, a significance, and everything called her to something in the infinite. Everything related itself to her with a particular message. And all this was possible because with a greater nature she was one. The higher nature, which was not subject to ignorance and deformation, Paraprakriti, she was one with that. As from the soil sprang glory of branch and flower, as from the animal's life rose thinking man, a new epiphany appeared in her. A new birth, epiphany is a new birth, appears in her, just as from the soil a branch of a tree and a flower on that branch springs up, just as thinking man comes up, arises from animal life, so from Savitri a new birth, a new manifestation appears. And what is that? A mind of light, a mind which is activated by a higher light. A life of rhythmic force, not chaotic, unregulated force as with most of us, but a rhythmic force. A body, if mind of light, a life of rhythmic force, rhythmic swing, rhythmic intensity, a body instinct with hidden divinity. That is, the body is aware that there is a hidden divinity In every moment the body is aware of that divinity. And all these things prepared an image of the coming God. That she was growing in the image of a Godhead. All these things, even in her childhood, give an indication. And when the slow rhyme of the expanding years, it's a slow rhyme. It is not sudden, miraculous outburst. Each year, slowly expanding its range. And when the slow rhyme of the expanding years and the rich murmurous swarm work of the days, that each day was not an idle drift. Lot of work was done, consciously or not consciously. Swarm work, various kinds of work were swarming together. Rich murmurous, it was not a very silent work, but the work had its vibrations, the work had its notes, and the rich murmurous swarm work of the days had honey-packed her sense, honey-packed, filled with sweetness, her senses, and filled her limbs, accomplishing the moon orb of her grace. Moon orb, moon, very pleasant, cooling, orb, to show that it is not a crescent, but a full orb, a full figure of her grace. The grace with which she carried herself, the grace which she radiated, is like a moon orb, self-guarded in the silence of her strength. For all that she did, she was guarded, self-guarded, not with artificial rules, artificial abstentions, but in the silence of her strength. She had a silent strength, not a bubbling strength. And there was her protection, her solitary greatness was not less. Because she was solitary inside, her greatness was not less. She was great. Even as she was living in her inner solitude. Nearer the Godhead to the surface pressed as she grows up, the Godhead within wanting to emerge, presses from all sides on the surface. A sun replacing childhood's nebula. Nebula is that certain vague formation, misty formation around, say, any luminous thing. First it is covered by something misty, vague, and that gradually dissolves, giving room to the full appearance of what is behind. So here, her childhood's nebula is replaced by a sun as she grows up, a bright sun, sovereign in a blue and lonely sky. The sun that emerges is that sovereign sun in a blue and lonely sky. It is not cluttered with clouds and shapes of all types. It is by itself. Lonely sky. Upward it rose to grasp the human scene. The Godhead from inside, it rises to take charge of the human surroundings. The strong inhabitant turned to watch her field, the field that was open to her, the field where she had to operate. The inner inhabitant turned to watch her field. A lovelier light assumed her spirit brow. Here, a lovelier light spread itself, formed itself, and sweet and solemn grew her musing gaze. The eyebrows are here, but the gaze of the eye, it grows at once sweet and solemn, serious, profound, and yet sweet, and musing, contemplating. It is not just running with everything, but observing things, contemplating things. Celestial, human, that means both godly and human. Deep, warm, slumberous fires, what were sleeping inside, those intensities, deep and warm, half human, half divine, woke in the long fringed glory of her eyes. The eyes were long fringed with big eyelids, and those fires, intensities, awoke in the glory of her eyes, like altar burnings in a mysteried shrine, as in a temple shrine, full of mystery. The lights burn on the altar. So the slumberous fires burn in her eyes. Out of those crystal windows, eyes are the windows of the soul. You will remember Mother saying it. Out of this crystal clear, out of those crystal windows gleamed a will power. Through the eyes it was gleaming, that brought a large significance to life. The will with which the eyes were looking and seizing things, they lend a large significance to life. Her eyes will not land upon or dwell upon useless things, trivial things. But the fact that with all their intensity, her eyes choose to dwell upon things and moments, invests them that there must be a meaning, there must be a significance. Holding her forehead's candid stainless face, her forehead, he is describing each limb of her face, holding her forehead's candid, clean, no lines there on her forehead, stainless, no bad experience, no evil, no worry, no tension, stainless space. Behind the student arch of a noble power, her forehead is behind, and above it is like something like a student arch, an arch which is not fully formed, but an arch of noble power, of wisdom. Look from light on transient things. A noble power of wisdom. Through the eyes there is a will emanating, and from the forehead, which is candid and stainless, from behind the youthful arch, a noble power of wisdom. Wisdom is something richer than knowledge. Look from light on transient things. From the light to the eternal. It looks on things that are transient. A scout of victory in a vigil tower. Her being is like a vigil tower, a tower, high tower, keeping vigilance on all that is happening around. And a scout of victory. What is the noun? Her aspiration, Her aspiration acts like a scout of victory. Where victory is to be found, it is looking for victory, called high destiny down. Her aspiration calls down a noble and a high destiny on earth. A silent warrior based in her city of strength. Her city of strength is her being, her individual existence, her body. In that a silent warrior paced, walks up and down, inviolate, not vanquished, not hurt, guarding truth's diamond throne. In her city of strength, there is the diamond throne of truth. And the silent warrior, her vigilance, her will, it is protecting this diamond throne of truth. A nectarous, hallowed moon, her passionate heart, her will is described, her aspiration is described, her vigilance is described, now her heart. A nectarous, hallowed moon, her passionate heart. It is not a dry heart, it is not a playful heart, but an intense heart. It is like a moon fully grown with a halo, that white, mild white aura-like circle behind it, nectarous, pouring out nectar, delight. That is her heart. Loved all. It was exuding love on everything, on everyone, and spoke no word. She did not boast of her love for all. She did not tell, I love you. She, for those who really love, it feels vulgar to express that one loves. It should be evident. If that love is not self-evident, is not self-communicating, there must be some lack. So she says, loved all and spoke no word and made no sign. Not even a gesture, not even a sign that she loved. Then what did she do? But kept her bosom's rapturous secrecy. She guarded her secrecy. She guarded the privacy of her love. A blissful, ardent, moved and voiceless world. She kept in her rapturous secrecy a whole world which was blissful, which was ardent, which was moved by experience and voiceless. It did not need to articulate itself at every step. Proud, swift, and joyful ran the wave of life. Her life force. She is coming from the top, you know. Proud, swift, I don't know whether Sri Aurobindo consciously did it, but in all litanies of the Divine Being, there is a description of limb by limb from head to toe. Each part is described. Now here almost the same thing he is doing. Now we have come to the wave of life. Proud, swift, joyful ran the wave of life within her like a stream in paradise. Her life force, her life energies were like a wave in the ocean, and proud, swift and joyful. It was not conquered, it was not hurt, it didn't depend upon anything else for its own joy. Like a stream in paradise. Many high gods dwelt in one beautiful home. In one Savitri, in one beautiful home, temple, many gods, high gods. The Tantra makes difference of Ucha Devatas and Kshudra Devatas. So he says high gods. They are not godlings, but high gods dwelt in one beautiful home. One is reminded of our mother when we read this line. Nature's orb a perfect whole. Because of the presence of the celestial gods, her nature, physical nature, was not truncated, was not neglected. He says, her nature's orb was a perfect whole, harmonious like a chant with many tones, immense and various like a universe. Her own nature itself was like a universe. Everything was there, beautiful, immense, various, multiple, multifarious. The body that held this greatness seemed almost an image made of heaven's transparent light. Heaven's transparent light, if an image can be made out of it, it is impossible. But supposing it could be made, it is this: the body that held this greatness seemed almost an image made of heaven's transparent light. Its charm recalled things seen in visions hours, not in practical daily dry life, but in high vision. You see things, and the charm that she exuded recalled things seen in visions hours. A golden bridge spanning a fairy flood. She is like a golden bridge standing across a fairy, a superhuman flood of waters. Here is the artist. A moon-touched palm tree single by a lake. A lake is there. There are no trees around, but a single palm tree. And behind that tree is a moon. It almost touches that tree. See, only Sri Aurobindo could have written this line. He says, a moon-touched palm tree single by a lake. If there were two trees, the attention is divided, the beauty is fragmented. If only the tree is mentioned, or only the moon is mentioned, it doesn't have that effect. Now, the juxtaposition, the moon like a crown on the tree, and that single tree rising above near the lake, that is a feast of beauty. He says, a golden bridge spanning a fairy flood, a moon-touched palm tree single by a lake. If there is any artist here, this is a very good theme. Both a golden bridge spanning a fairy flood, a moon-touched palm tree single by a lake, companion of the wide and glimmering peace. Wherever she is, there is a great peace, glimmering, shining. And this moon-touched palm tree is a companion of that peace. It always recalls that peace, that peaceful scene. A murmur as of leaves in paradise. This is all a description of her form, her breathing, her vibrations. A murmur as of leaves in paradise, moving when feet of the immortals pass. When the immortals pass in paradise, the leaves under their feet make some noise, a murmur. And he says, its charm, her body's charm recalls all these things. one by one, see, a golden bridge spanning a fairy flood, a moon-touched palm tree single by a lake, companion of the wide and glimmering peace, a murmur as of leaves in paradise, moving when feet of the immortals pass, a fiery halo over sleeping hills. Hills are pictured as sleeping, and over that there is a halo. You know, when the sun is not at a risen, there is that red, the sky is all lit up, a fiery halo. The hills are still asleep. A strange and starry head alone in night. Imagine a head of star, a head is a starry head, a figure full of stars, alone. You can see a cluster of stars suddenly appearing alone, strange, because it is not very regular. A strange and starry head alone in night. There is nothing else, no clouds, no other things to disturb the scene. Now all these images, he says, things seen in visions hours, they are recalled by the charm of her figure, of her presence. That brings us to the end of the first canto, the birth of the flame, bringing us to the threshold of the next canto, which is equally delightful, the growth of the flame.